Cars whizzed in and out of Kamala Harris's D.C. residence over the weekend as she met with the finalists on her shortlist for contenders to be her VP pick. Senator Mark Kelly, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, and also Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear did pay Harris a visit. Many were left speculating that Josh Shapiro would win because the Harris campaign has already said she'd be hosting a rally in Philadelphia on Tuesday, during which her pick would be announced. There's also a Pennsylvania Democratic official who tweeted out what looked like an announcement to that effect early, although they said that was just some kind of error. Now, Shapiro could be a boon to the Harris ticket because he is a very popular governor of the key swing state, help determine who wins the White House. He's been a staunch defender of Israel, however, after the October 7th Hamas attacks, which some worry would cause Harris to alienate the progressive wing of the party if she picks him.
Next up, Senator Kelly, who's also from a battleground state, Arizona, a border state, which could help Harris fend off GOP critics on immigration issues. Here he is on Morning Joe.
I mean, J.D. Vance wants a total abortion ban. Total abortion ban. And when asked about exceptions for rape and incest, what did he say? He said, 2 wrongs don't make a right. When is it wrong for a woman who has been raped to want to terminate a pregnancy?
Now, dark horse Governor Tim Waltz, you may remember me making the case for him in my monologue last week. He's been boosting his profile and gaining traction. Here's what he had to say very recently. Let's watch.
What I know is that people like J.D. Vance know nothing about small town America. My town had 400 people in it, 24 kids in my graduating class, 12 were cousins, and he gets it all wrong. It's not about hate. It's not about collapsing in. The golden rule there is mind your own damn business.
Now, another full tryout mode candidate, Beshear, he was on the media rounds this weekend as well. Here's a clip of the Kentucky governor on Morning Joe. Let's watch.
Are you at least open to the possibility of being a running mate to Vice President Harris?
Well, I think if somebody calls you on that, what you do is at least listen. And I want the American people to know what a Kentuckian is and what they look like, because let me just tell you that J.D. Vance ain't from here.
Now, that was like a week ago or so, maybe a week and change, and it created this sort of frenzy on Twitter of people from Kentucky and Appalachia hashtagging "he ain't from here" with like their cast iron pans being washed with soap. This is what J.D. Vance does. He's never watched a new TV stacked on top of an old TV, just talking about regular life that they think J.D. Vance doesn't understand. I've seen Beshear still posting and doing a couple media hits like he's in the running, but he's been doing a lot less. We've also seen people say it's between Waltz and Shapiro. And we had that leak from Mayor Sherrell Parker, which, do we think that she just saw a lot of headlines about Shapiro and assumed he was already picked and it was a reckless post? Was it an intentional leak that was a test balloon from the campaign to see what the reaction would be? And we also have Nancy Pelosi saying that she supports Tim Waltz. There are a lot of reports of that. And then outwardly to a crowd of people, we had Bernie Sanders saying he believes Waltz can make the case for working families and he supports Waltz. And we also had Pramila Jayapal say she agrees with that from Senator Sanders. So he's got a lot of support from key Democrats and Democrats in the House, and support from Nancy Pelosi, who, Robbie, we know to be pulling all of the strings right now.
Yeah, Tim Waltz is definitely the candidate of the progressive left, as far as I can tell. As you point out, Bernie Sanders gave an endorsement to him and is encouraging Harris to pick him. I think it is coming down to him and Shapiro. So Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona, tweeted something a little bit cryptic over the weekend, saying that he intends to remain a senator from Arizona. It seemed to suggest that he was out of the running, or was pulling himself out of the running, or was reacting to being out of the running. But then he went ahead and actually deleted that statement on Twitter, so hard to tell. But I think it's down to Waltz and Shapiro. My understanding is Shapiro is still the favorite. This rally is going to take place in Pennsylvania on Tuesday, this campaign event on Tuesday. Setting aside all the other appealing aspects about Shapiro, it's simply the case that he is the very popular governor of the key swing state. He is well liked by even many Republicans in his state. They tend to say pretty positive things about him. That is just, the VP pick does not make all that much difference anyway. Historically, it's of small importance. This is like the one way in which it could actually matter. If it gets her a couple thousand more votes in Pennsylvania, the pick of him than she otherwise would have gotten, that could make the difference between winning or losing the election. So there's just a strong case for him given the fundamental political dynamics at play. Again, that has nothing to do with the policies. I understand that why many progressives are much less enthusiastic about the choice of him because there was that information coming out on Friday about statements he had made. Now he said that was when he was 20 years old and they shouldn't be taken seriously, saying that the Palestinians would never choose peace or something to that effect. He's certainly a more pro-Israel voice than many on the progressive left are comfortable with right now. But I guess that's the choice before Kamala.
Yeah, I think the VP pick matters more in this election than we've ever seen in the past. I think people are paying special attention to the vice presidential picks because they're seeing what happens when a president is old and has to step aside and the VP has to step in. I think there's a heightened sense of importance around who the vice president is. We've also seen J.D. Vance hold Trump probably down in the polls because of his appearances, things that he's said in the past. People are really paying attention to J.D. Vance's track record and what he said in very recent years. Now, Shapiro as well. He did say that many years ago. He's someone who lived in Israel and served in the IDF. Now, people are taking that seriously. Should we have someone who served in the military forces of a foreign government as vice president? I would say no. Also, very recently, he said that peaceful protesters on college campuses were like KKK members. That's an insane thing to say, and it indicates to me that maybe his mind hasn't changed very much. And if it has, he hasn't told us in what direction. And so I think Shapiro, for an additional reason, is not a great pick because we're seeing attack ads. I was in Pennsylvania over the weekend. They're running attack ads on Kamala Harris, making her own personally every crime that happened in California while she was attorney general. And they're framing this as Kamala Harris let X, Y, and Z person back onto the streets. Shapiro was an attorney general as well. And they're starting to do the same thing with his track record. I think it would be a complete liability in an environment where people are paying a lot of attention to crime, thanks to the media attention on crime, even though crime is down right now. Having these two AGs on the same ticket's a big mistake. Because someone like Tim Walz could be the opposite of J.D. Vance. Him campaigning in Pennsylvania and in middle America could bring Kamala Harris way more votes because he's not this kind of elite venture capitalist. He worked in a school. He was a principal. He's been a good public servant. He's known to connect with regular working class and middle class Americans. Someone like him on the campaign trail, I think, could give her a huge bump. So as usual, the Democrats are between like the worst possible option that they have and the best possible option that they have. And everyone's just worried that they're not going to surprise us and pick the worst possible option because that's what we're used to. But I hope we get something different. I really hope it's Waltz.
You're saying worst possible in terms of, let's be clear here. You agree more with Tim Walz's policies than Josh Shapiro, which that's fine. I don't really, care about that. Josh Shapiro, I think, is obviously a better political in the terms of the campaign, given that winning Pennsylvania is like the most important part of Harris's attempt to become the presidency. And he clearly does help with that narrow mission, which is about all you can expect out of a vice president. I should say, there are policies that Josh Shapiro has initiated as governor that I quite like and think should get some attention, including that one of his first acts was to declare that that in order to be an employee in Pennsylvania, you ought not to have to have a college degree. He eliminated the college degree requirement for government workers. I think that's great. I'm totally against credentialism. It's not necessary. If people don't, need to go into debt or pursue college degrees to get jobs, I think that's a good trajectory. I'm also in favor of some of the school choice stuff that he has tepidly done, although he did veto one bill at the behest of the teachers' unions that I would have rather seen become law. You probably don't like it, but I do. So I was actually glad to see him somewhat opposed to at least that traditional Democratic constituency, or at least feuding with them or showing an open-mindedness to going along with policies that I think would be better for the state of Pennsylvania. So I certainly prefer his policies to Tim Walz, and I think also that he is going to help in the key swing state. But we'll see who she picks. It could be neither of them. It could be dark horse. It could be Andy Beshear. It could still be Mark Kelly. It could be someone else.
Yeah, I just don't see it that way, that you pick a candidate from a certain state and that means you win that state, because it would be very effective for them to run attack ads around, murders that weren't investigated to the full extent that they would have liked. Those running in Pennsylvania and people feeling like, Josh Shapiro is the reason our country is not safe, or whether for better or for worse, whether that's accurate or not. The attack ads could be effective. And someone like Tim Walz running in Pennsylvania could win more votes than a candidate like Shapiro. There's a lot of regular working class people across Pennsylvania, and Josh Shapiro could not be a guy that relates to them. There could be a reason that, yes, he won the governorship, but they want to vote for someone else for national office. And Shapiro could maybe win in Pennsylvania and then be the reason they lose a lot of key states in middle America. So I think they really need to take a deep look at what states they would actually win. They obviously have some internal polling, but we've also seen Kamala Harris lose her own state in a primary. So it's not a guarantee that if you're from that state, you'll win that state. And I think Waltz is someone who can win in Pennsylvania. I'm not confident Josh Shapiro can even win in his home state. So I think that there's a reason conservatives are saying, yeah, obviously Josh Shapiro is the better pick right now, because they would prefer Josh Shapiro to a Tim Walz. Because imagine
but you're doing the opposite. You're a progressive, so you prefer Tim Walz because he's progressive.
No, there are a lot of conservative-leaning people that adore Tim Walz. He won the governorship with a greater vote share than anyone in history. And so someone like that who agrees that delivering on working class policies is good, that's not something that's a right or left issue. That's something that's proven to win among independents and people who are centrist, because he's narrowly focused on delivering policy for the working class. And I think people are afraid of a matchup of Waltz and J.D. Vance.
All right, we got to leave it there. Let us know what you think. More Rising right after this.